When you're making a game, there's so many things you can start with. Cool gameplay, awesome mechanics, and electric pull, but which one should you start with? Today, I wanted to go over 5 things I'm focusing on first when making my next game. Spoiler alert, some of these might not be what you're expecting. So let's go. The very first thing I'm going to be looking at is color. What colors are going to represent my game? Do you want something retro, like an old Legend of Zelda? You only need a couple colors then. Or maybe you're going for a dark noir vibe, like Genesis Noir. Then you're going to be focusing on shadows and light. Or maybe instead you want something real lush and vibrant. Take the Shinchan game with its amazingly gorgeous colors. No matter what it is, it all starts with color. Now we typically refer to our chosen colors as a palette. It's a very useful tool in setting a consistent look for your game. Now you might be saying, "Bye Pigeon, I don't know my way around colors. There's no way I can choose the right ones." No worries. If you're like me and you don't have a lot of experience working with color, you can easily find palettes online. The second thing I'm doing is character and environment. It doesn't make a lot of sense to create your entire world before you start coding, but your character and environment is probably one of the most important things to think about as you're working on your game. When I think about certain games, oftentimes I think of the main character first, and then the world that they live in. Let's say Final Fantasy VII. Automatically it's going to be Cloud, and then Midgar, in that order, right? So that's just how important your character and environment is. So if you draw a character at a certain size, you might want to spend some time thinking about your character's size within an environment. Does everything look good there? Is the palette we chose appropriate for the environment? How's our character looking? Resolutions. My game resolution is the third thing I'm taking a look at before starting my game. Now, this doesn't apply to every game, so I want to highlight a game you guys probably know to show why it could be important. Binding of Isaac. It's a super fun roguelike revolving around a boy who cries while trying to survive against a horde of deadly enemies. The first thing you're going to see when booting up Binding of Isaac is that it opens up windowed and pretty small. That's because the game was designed at a certain resolution, 480 by 272 in this case. The environment and the character were built with a certain look in mind. This is especially the case when working with pixel art styles, where you have to think about how your game is going to scale to different sizes. Cauldron Craft was done at 320 by 180 pixels. 640 by 360 is also quite popular too, as both of these resolutions scale easily into 1080p. And while 3D games might not have this issue, I think you might want to figure out camera placement in this step, as it serves a similar purpose of framing your game. Think of it as how you want other people to see your game. The fourth thing I'm taking a look at is going to be settings. Again, this is going to be more important for certain types of games, but I don't think there's a lot of games that don't have dedicated settings inside the game. Well, there's chess, but you and me, we're not making chess. Certain game settings might be very specific to the game that you're working on, but certain settings are extremely universal. So by taking some time and knocking out these things, I will be certain in knowing what systems I'm going to be hooking into and how they're going to look. That way I can circle back immediately to make sure I'm hooking in properly or designing as I intend to use the functionality for the rest of my game. But the more practical reason is that I want there to be something in the game right away where I can modify my game resolution as I'm playing. I don't want that to be an afterthought. The fifth and final thing I'm doing before starting my game is, you guessed it, it's the mechanics and the gameplay. Finally, we're getting to talk about this. You can think of it as the wow factor, the flashy parts of your game, or your game's fun component. It might be one of the biggest reasons why we, as a collective whole, are drawn to the games that we love. So then, why is this one last on the list, you might ask? For me, it's actually pretty simple. It's because it's one of the quote unquote easiest things to work on. Now, let me explain. If a mechanic or a gameplay element doesn't work, it's kind of expected. There's a lot of reworking and thinking that happens when you get to this part of the design stage. Sometimes you're tuning numbers, but sometimes you're going to realize that what you've created just ain't it. And it happens a surprising amount, or at least for me. But some of these other things on this list are a lot more foundational and can seriously shake up your game if it's changed on the fly. And that's it. For my closing thoughts, I think game dev is one of those things where you could do it any which way and still do it amazingly. This is the way I'm going to be doing it after learning from my first game, Cauldron Craft. It's very cool to look back and see how much I've changed, the start of my game making process. Drop a comment letting me know if you do it differently or not. And thank you to the channel members. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon. Peace.